We are tested and tried by each other, man and woman. No matter what happens, we're really evolving each other between chaos and order. When order reaches mastery, fulfillment, or serves its purpose, we're at that 22 vibration. And if you are an astrological chart reader, you would understand that numerologically as well, the 22 can only be dissolved by water, chaotic water. And that chaotic water usually manifesting through either the moon at the north node or a strong Pisces stellium. So we're at a point where the earth structures, it has to meet heavy waters, chaos, to dissolve the orders of the past so that there could be a reformation of what's more appropriate for the modern times. And 22 is at the south node, Virgo, 22. When 22 is at the south node, it's no question that chaos, the waters are coming to make opportunity. Chaos through the moon is coming to make opportunity. And this points at divine feminine being source of chaos. Chaos, oh, that's so bad, that's so bad, that's so bad. We're so used to saying that. But we have to use two eyes and not one. Looking through one eye, we have enough to complain about. And looking through the other eye, there's much that we could miss to really celebrate at the same time. Look how far women are forcing us to grow as men. Look how much women are forcing us to reform as men. We are in an innovation of ourselves as men, as they too are in an innovation of themselves. And we have to give the grace that chaos is a necessary part of this reformation. With Pluto at Aquarius, relationship terms are not going to be of a traditional kind. Aquarius represents the territory and the outer rings of Saturn, just as Capricorn represents the territories with the inner ring of Saturn. We are now at the outer rings. Everything is out of bounds. There's no formula to follow. We are pioneering our way into the future concepts. Neptune is now at Aries. Pioneers of new concepts. Pioneers of new ideals, essentially. Aries holding the energy of the pioneer. Neptune holding the energy of new ideals. This includes relationships as well. There will be no force or control in relationship terms in the future, not for those who want to enjoy a healthy relationship outcome, being aligned with the forces and laws of this universe. So with that being said, we're expected to show up as masters. As you will hear in this discourse, I will say in other explanations that through feminism, women got in touch with full autonomy, freedom, and liberation. However, they have to go through certain things in order to understand that accountability has to go with that. And once that is downloaded into their consciousness that I must have accountability with freedom and liberty, it becomes safe for them to have freedom and liberty without causing destruction upon themselves or others. Understand? But once they are at that point, let's focus ahead at the future of where that's headed at. Imagine the new woman who has accountability. Imagine the new woman who has autonomy, freedom, and liberation or liberty, just as man does, doing whatever she pleases to do or however she pleases to do. However, as long as she has accountability, It is all safe. There is nothing wrong with it. The only thing that could be wrong with it is if she lacks accountability with her freedom. As creators and co-creators, if we want the freedom to create at will, as we will, we also have to have the courage to be accountable to what we created and what we willed into existence, what we facilitated, what we enabled, what we co-created. Otherwise, it becomes criminal, it becomes oppressive, it becomes destructive, passing the buck, passing the blame, dodging accountability, dodging responsibility. Understand? So once we have accomplished this, well into the future, which is really not that far away, because women have been learning this for a while, it's a beautiful opportunity. We're two free beings, two free souls, or I'm talking about Aquarius, and Aquarius is anything but traditional, okay? So, a man may be with two women or three women or four women, not in secret, okay? But as an agreement that they have, okay? Polygyny and polygamy, polyamory will certainly be a relationship style or preference of the day through Aquarius. There is no question about it. However, we're getting to a place where we're prepared not to control each other, dominate each other, or rule each other, but co-create as two autonomous forces that come together to consent to what we choose to bring into existence that could mean benefit for humanity. And we had to clear out so many of the skeletons in our closet with Pisces and Saturn, okay, addressing subconscious fears and subconscious programming, generational curses, as well as Cancer Mars, the toxicity in the culture that began with our mothers and the households that we were raised in, addressing it, not running away, but finally confronting what has been showing up over and over again in our life as a resulting consequences of us running away from that healing. And also feeling comfortable in our own shoes, in our true and authentic identity, even against the disapproval of society, the scrutiny of society, or the criticism of the public opinion for being authentic, for being who we are supposed to be, if it does not match an agenda, a socially engineered programming or ideal that fits a corporate interest or political interest, where people are subject to a spell of common behaviors, attitudes, and views. Understand? So we're stepping outside of that, and our relationships are also going to step outside of that. To summarize it all, what relationships are going to look like in Aquarius, Pluto transit, is your relationship is a means to serve better. It is a means to serve well. It is a means to serve greater. It is a means to serve in a more deep and effective transformational way, fulfilling your life purpose, where you have common interests with a person. You have likenesses and goals and aims with a person, where you collaborate through connection. Collaborate through connection, not subject yourself through attachment. There's a difference. Collaborating through connection, not subjecting yourselves through attachment. We are coming to a very high frequency, and look what we had to go through to get here. So we should really appreciate it. Love will look a lot different. Relationships will look a lot different, with romance out of the way, with chivalry out of the way, clouding and confusing the judgment, bringing greater chaos and doubt to the situation, manipulation and leverage of the sexes. No, these things are being disarmed so that we can come to each other with clean hands and naked bodies. And what I mean by that is hiding nothing, okay? Transparency, being sincere about why we are here and what we want to accomplish as a result of being here. And the least of themes, the least of purposes is that I need you here because I'm emotionally insecure, I'm unhappy, I'm unfulfilled, I want love. No, these are toxic foundational reasons and aims. And we are overcoming these things by healing it within the self, from the self. Understand? And once we cover that, once we accomplish that, love will look so much more promising, and trust will be so much more affordable, and happiness will certainly be exponential when we all come together. However, wait out the storm. Wait out the storm. In the past, men, they would choose a woman, start a family, and through that reality, men would create a situation that would feed back to them that they were needed. A man, overall, he wants to be needed. He has to be needed. Otherwise, his life doesn't make sense to him, and he begins to be self-destructive. No matter how comfortable you make a place or an environment, how much pleasure you fill it with, and joy and stimulants, the man will always leave where he doesn't feel needed. He will show up and he will stay where he feels needed, even if the environment has harsh realities in it. He will not leave it if he still feels needed there. That's the nature of a man. This is in career. This is in all of his goals and ambitions. This is especially in his relationships. He's always seeking to find, where am I needed? Where is the role that I fit that no one else can do better than me? Where am I irreplaceable? It's no secret that man exposes himself over and over again when he chooses women, and that he often will choose whoever makes him feel needed, even if he knows it's not the truth, as long as that's the feedback that he's hearing or seeing. This goes back to cancer. This goes back to cancer, the cancer placement. Cancer Mars is what brought us into the 18-month trial of North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo. Therefore, Cancer will remain relevant throughout. Now let's get where I'm going with this. It is true that men often use witchcraft themselves. When they're with a woman, they try to communicate to her or suggest to her, you can never be happy without me. You will never be successful without me. Nothing good will come your way if you don't have me. And it's simply not the truth. I am the best thing that ever happened to you. I am the best thing that could happen to you. It's simply not the truth. It is true that the best thing that could happen to a woman is that she has an appropriate husband and that she respects that appropriate husband. But it doesn't mean that it is you who fulfills that description. That could be delusion. You see the difference? It is true that success and prosperity beyond surface meanings is not possible for her to obtain once she has children, especially if she doesn't have the balance of or the covering of a husband or male counterpart. She self-destructs because she wasn't created like man to go without a counterpart. She was created for the counterpart. But it doesn't mean you are the limitation of that ideal. As a person, as a name, as a personality. You see the difference? So, man is at a crisis today, and crisis only means you're at a crossroads. And the crossroads is that we have to make up our minds, the masculine, and we have to remember the fundamentals, the basics. Wherever you're getting, you have to get there without controlling, dominating, obsessing, forcing or enforcing your will and your preferences upon others. You have to get there gracefully through the flow of the forces and laws of this universe, not in toil and struggle, especially the toil and struggle against other people's will. Women have chosen where they want to go and how they want to get there, and they have chosen the characteristics and the mindset, the personality, the image that they want to have for themselves. And there's no need to call it bad or to call it good in context of what I'm saying. But what the point is that they are not as they used to be. And they don't need to be as they used to be either, because we are evolving as humanity is to evolve. We're moving on from what we were familiar with, and we're moving on with what we were comfortable with. This is a necessary part of growth. So as one trials the other, man and woman, we grow and we learn. It provokes the growth and development that we need, the acceleration of consciousness that we need. Feminism and liberalism has put in women what forces man into a review in himself. What am I going to do now that my woman is not who she used to be? What am I going to do now that women do not want what they used to want? They have chosen to go a different way, a different direction. They have changed. And again, what I'm speaking about now has nothing to do with whether it is right or wrong. So please follow me. So being that they made this decision to change who they are, to go a different way, we know that the law of this universe is we don't force upon others' will. So if we're not to force upon the will to become what we prefer them to be, then what does that mean? It means that you find the opportunity in yourself and how you are to adjust to it, how you are to adapt to the circumstances. Well, what would be missing now that she is the way that she is? What is missing is that she has supplementation for what used to be a need. The husband used to be her need. The father used to be a need. And the husband and father in principle will forever be a need. The same way that calcium is a need, B12 is a need, magnesium is a need, K2 is a need, iron and zinc, it is a need. Every mineral is a need, right? Okay, the husband and the father is a need. But what happens when she changes in such a way that suggests you are not a need? Okay, for example, we can live a lifestyle that suggests that minerals are not a need. For example, you can eat junk food, artificial foods, processed foods, and you call it food, but it's really empty calories. And it doesn't mean that you're denying that minerals are a need, vitamins are a need, proper nutrition is a need. But in your ignorance, or in your straying away from your nature, you are consuming what fulfills your desires, but it doesn't fulfill your needs. You understand? Empty calories. It tastes good, but it's not nurturing, it's not nourishing. So women, especially in the West in America, they have the same crisis with relationships. They're going for what tastes good, but not nurturing. They're consuming empty calories concerning the dating market. I really would say all of us are in this country. However, that does not mean or suggest that the husband or the father is not still in need, just because you consume empty calories doesn't mean that vitamins and minerals are no longer in need. It will have its consequences. So she has found her supplementation, however, and the supplementation for the husband and for the father is community services and that which she can buy out as a service, who she can hire as a service, the conveniences of the urban community, the conveniences of business establishments and services that she can pick up a phone, swipe a credit card, and she can meet her needs in an artificial sense. There's no husband, but what a husband is there to do, traditionally, the provision, the protection, the infrastructure. She can supplement these things in her community, as communities in an urban sense are designed to supplement those things. The child needs a father. She can find supplementation for this. The football coach, the boxing coach, the cousins, the uncles, events and community services that give the sons masculine influence or mentorship even, after school programs, so on and so forth. Supplementation. Now, there also can be supplementation in a sense where it may not be so healthy, where the children consume contaminants and where she consumes contaminants in absence of what would be the father and in absence of what would be the husband. Unhealthy habits that feign supplementation. Okay, so I hope you're following me with this. Please ask the question below if it seems confusing. Stop right now, ask the question below if it seems confusion. I would be very happy to clarify. I want to make born understanding. Now, feminism has accelerated behind the infrastructure of urban communities, liberal cities. Urban communities, liberal cities, okay? Urban communities, liberal cities, this is where single women concentrate. Okay, urban cities, liberal cities. So, you don't move into the country necessarily if you're single. You move there if you're married or you have a big family where you can practice community for resources. Of course, in an urban city, New York City, Chicago, Miami, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, so on and so forth. You move to bigger cities as a single person because the resources are immediate. Okay? Public service is immediate. Conveniences are immediate. You can purchase any type of false sense of security that you need. Protection as well. You buy a pistol, or you move into a gated community where there's a security officer downstairs or down the street. You have to have a certain code to come in the gates to reach the houses. Okay, you could call the police and they'll be there very fast in some urban cities. There are all types of resources that you are connected to. So this is supplementation for the husbands and the fathers where you otherwise would feel the sting of not having a husband or fathers, okay? A single woman moves into the country, you're going to feel the sting of being single. Understand? You move into an urban community, you probably will not feel that sting. The delusion will last a little longer. Now, what am I working up to? Feminism upholding this infrastructure that promotes and enables the delusion and illusion of feminism. It puts women in a place where there's this misunderstanding that they have in value, this misunderstanding that they have in need, and they go to, again, the empty calorie supplementation that seems to make up for the husband or the father, although it doesn't in principle. It feels as if it does, and the consequences are still the same, the outcome is still the same. But as far as the dating market, the love projection, the relationship outlook, okay, men are in a crisis with themselves in this modern time where, we're not needed anymore, okay? The father is in a place where he's to feel he's not needed, and the husband is to feel where he is not needed, okay? This is the feeling. This is the feeling. The reality, again, is that he is needed. You cannot supplement for a father. You cannot supplement for a husband. But you damn sure can't fool yourself into thinking that you have supplemented for it, but the consequences will show in the body. It's just like empty calories. You think you are supplementing for proper nutrition or nutrients, but the crisis will show over time in disease, sickness, and ailments because you are not getting proper nutrition. You are consuming empty calories, okay? You think you got a healthy meal because it was hot. You think you got a good meal because it smelled good, okay? But the empty calories are still empty calories. I think I've made that point. Now, this is opportunity. And the opportunity is for man to elevate higher. It's for him to elevate higher. And what does that higher elevation look like? You used to feel like you had to be needed by a woman, and you had to feel needed as the father, and you had to feel needed as the husband. But now, in that delusion of feminism, it feeds back to you that you are not so needed, you're not so important, you're replaceable, and we could supplement for your presence. Okay, again, that's the illusion. So that leaves you in a place where, I'm in a crisis. I'm in an emotional crisis as a man. I don't know how to be happy without being needed. I don't know how to function without being needed. I can't get in touch with my self-esteem without feeling needed. And you go to the workplace and you try to make this up in your career or your job. Now you're overdoing it. You're becoming a workaholic. You're becoming overbearing. You overexert yourself to try to make up for that sense of need. You spend extra hours at work, in your career, or your business ventures. Understand? Because somewhere in your life you need the feedback of having, of being a need to someone or something. This is your nature as a man because God sent you here for that purpose. God sent you here to be his vicegerent. his successor in his place in the earth, to be God in the earth in his absence. You are the manifestation of that. So you're here to serve. You're here to be needed. You're here to show up where you are needed. And that is where man is happy. Man is not happy in luxury. He's not happy in pleasures. He's happy in the environment that says, I need you to be here. Even if there are bullets flying and blood shedding, a man will rather be there than be where he's not. Let me give you an example. You have all these successful celebrities who come from the hood, who come from the streets, the projects, ghetto, environments where bullets was flying and drugs was being sold. And they make it successfully, and they have mansions and all kinds of luxury vehicles and everything else, but they can't stay out the streets. Always coming back to the hood. Look at Jim Jones. Old as dirt, but he's still always in the hood. Trying to think of a verse where I think it was Prodigy and Havoc, Mobb Deep. In the hood forever. Can't remember that verse. But anyway, they want to be where they're needed, where they're celebrated, where they feel like if they're absent, if they're not there, things won't go right. That's a man. It's unhealthy when you choose a woman or a relationship dynamic and you engineer that need or you engineer that crisis. For example, you could choose a woman or you could choose a business relationship, whichever the case it is, but relationships. And you start sabotaging it to create the illusion of need because you can't verify it, rather or not you're needed. The people around you are showing that they're content if you're here or if you're not here. Your contribution doesn't make a dent. It doesn't make a big difference if you're here or not here. So you start to manufacture that need by bringing drama and trauma to the situation. You start to pick apart other people's contentment. You start to make people feel like they're missing something or like they're doing everything all wrong. You start to create this environment where it's like you're the hero who's showing up, and before you showed up there, everybody was screwing up. But is that really the case? That's not healthy. And there are plenty of times where men will do this to women and also do this to relationship environments in the workplace. Everything's going fine, but you're creating the drama. You're creating the trauma so that it could seem like you're the hero. It's like you break the timing belt on purpose, or you jam up the starter on purpose, or you cross the wires up on purpose, so that when she starts the car up, it malfunctions, and then you're the hero who comes to fix the car. So now it's like you're manufacturing the demand that she has for you, or you're manufacturing the relevance of you being there. You're manufacturing the importance of yourself. That's very unhealthy. Things can be going well or just fine, and then you start scrutinizing and picking everything apart, judging and criticizing things in such a way to make it seem like everybody's a screw up or incompetent, and it only takes you to be there for anybody to do anything that's competent. Everything's incorrect if it's not done exactly the way that you want it to be done. These are very unhealthy ways of being. And it happens all the time, especially with men. That ego gets out of control because you got low self-esteem, because you don't believe in yourself, because you don't really have a root to your identity and purpose, and you have not found that as a service to humanity, so you bring that burden back home. We're here to serve humanity. We're here to serve the people. And the woman is really there to serve the man who is in service to humanity. It's unhealthy when he picks a woman in order to serve her, because he ends up picking her apart instead. A man is supposed to be serving the community, which is why Christ is his head and he is her head. That's the order. Man is the glory of God and woman is the glory of man. It's in that order. Christ is the head of man, as man is the head of woman. It's in that order. And that doesn't mean that you're the one who gives her marching orders. It simply means that your business is to find your service in the world that you owe to the world through your gifts and your talents and your strength. And she is to serve the one who serves the world. She's to serve the one who serves the community, which doesn't mean to be worshiping your ass. It just means that she means efficiency, viscosity, multiplicity. That's what that means. She makes your service more efficient. She adds viscosity to your service. And she multiplies the fruit of your service and labors. She multiplies. Why? Because women have power while men have authority. There's a difference. Men embody Saturn. Women embody Pluto when it comes to power and authority. When a man doesn't have a woman behind him or with him, his power is very limited. When a woman doesn't have a man, her authority is very limited. And we go through unhealthy means to compensate and make up for these things. Her power is a natural force to her. Authority is a natural force to him. So in his authority and competence and the service that he owes to the world and to community, her power is what comes to make it effective, to make it move, to make it fruitful. This is the difference. So that direction is important, because when a man chooses a woman to create love or to create a family with no purpose that's beyond him or beyond her, it's going to be a mess, because we were not designed to do that. We were designed, all of us, to serve humanity. A sad story of a man looking for love. Your love is in the fulfillment that you receive as a result of serving humanity with your gifts. And that's what worship is. That's how you worship God. By showing up to humanity with your gifts, finding where you are needed, and being brave in it. You go and get a woman when it's time for you to make that more efficient. You go and get a woman when it's time to expand and multiply the legacy of it. You go and get a woman when it's time to bring viscosity to what prepares you for it every day. That's what a woman is for. She's not for just your personal therapy and pleasures, because when you go and get a woman who has ownership of power and whose value is immeasurable and potential is immeasurable, and you go get her for something so frivolous and stupid as your emotional codependence, you're looking for love, sad puppy ass, reasons. Sooner or later, she's going to see that you brought her into a very limited scope. You brought her into a place of limitation, and she's going to get bored. And when women get bored, they can't tolerate it. Boredom is not just, I don't have anything fun to do. Boredom to the woman is, I'm rotting away. Because nothing is happening that's making me feel like I'm alive. that's making me feel like what I know I'm capable of doing is being put to the test. Nothing's making me feel like what I know my powers and my gifts are is not being clarified in what we do every day. I'm not seeing the results of it. I'm not seeing what effect I can have. I need you to turn your face to humanity as a man and find a service that you can give to humanity. And let me loan you my powers from behind you so that we all can see a return on it, and that is fulfillment. That is success. That is happiness. But if you're looking at me as that project, I'm overwhelmed already. That's how that looks. She's already overwhelmed because you're looking at her instead of looking at the world. Let me stay on track with, where I'm going. So, we as men, as modern world began to limit our identity to a job, to a career where you punch in and clock out, the imagination is suppressed, originality is suppressed, inventive thinking is suppressed, revolutionary thinking is suppressed. And as revolutionaries came to America, and all of them mysteriously get killed, all of them mysteriously are assassinated, you have less people who are interested in becoming heroes anymore or revolutionaries. Let's get to that point. And so the mundane comes in, where every man becomes a boring, repetitive cycle of lifelessness, doing nothing unique or special with their self or their life, having no effect on the world. You get up, you clock in, you clock out, and you come home miserable and boring. And with women being at the revolution of their first experience with freedom and liberation, that's a roller coaster ride for them. And for them to find themselves with you as man who has not found the advanced value of yourself, it means constraint and restriction for them. And they're overwhelmed because it's like they're at the precipice of their revolution of freedom and liberty. And then they come to you, the man who's confined to the cookie cutter society with nothing exciting about you or your life or your identity. There's nothing about you that is a thrill. There's nothing about you that is living. There's nothing about you that says you are the image and likeness of God. There's nothing about you that says you are creator. There's nothing about you that says you have the power to originate ideas and ideals into the world that others long to be a part of. You have nothing to give as a revolutionary, as a rebel, as a fighter, as a creator. Nothing. You just fall into the shadows of the world as another figure. And she's bored out of her mind with that. It's like she will fall over and die if she stands with you another minute. Boredom is torture to a woman. It is torture because women are childlike. They are childlike. So it's a reason men as a collective are not getting the results they're getting. It's not that women need to slow down. It's that men need to come alive to who they really are. And when men come alive to who they really are, they're set on fire with divine light. They're set on fire with creativity. The crown on their head from the authenticity that they found as creators and innovators, revolutionaries and rebels, teachers, engineers, scientists, leaders, powerful warriors. That crown is something that she cannot unsee. She cannot resist. She gravitates toward it. The crisis is that she doesn't know the difference often between light and false light. So she sees what glitters, but she doesn't know that's not a crown. It's only Venus, the false light. And then she has regrets to live with. But we as men, our only light is with our Lord, our source. And that starts with that number 9 process at the South Node Virgo. This is where men are currently located. They're in the number 9 hermit process. The men who have sense, okay? The men who are grounded, they're in the process of isolation. God is remaking man, rebirthing man, reforming man. Because man has to come out of the Capricorn image of himself, and he has to come into the Aquarius image of himself. He has to evolve from being Ogun into Shango. Ogun was the craftsman, the logical warrior, the one who made technology out of the elements, the conservative man, the blue collar. But Shango is the advancement of such, which includes revolutionaries, inventors, innovators, those who show humanity the way into the future. What is next? The foreseers, those who have revelation to offer to the world, where everyone turns their head to them to say, I need to know what's next. I need to know what's ahead. That is where man comes in. And we could do that as teachers, scholars, healers, inventors, warriors, revolutionaries, rebels, you name it. There are many ways that we ought to manifest this as men, but we haven't been doing it. We've only been doing this in sports and music. Sports and music, for the most part. And this is the reason why our women in America, they look to sports, they look to athletes and, what's the word? They look to athletes and celebrities, okay, as their ideal image for who and what they want. They absorb that ideal image as what they want, and they reference that ideal image because it's the closest thing they can get to a living man. Through money, living their so-called best life. But they haven't met the man who's living through God. And living through God is not a religious ideal, the Muslim or the Christian. It's the one who found their authentic purpose, the reason for breathing life, the reason for being here in the earth. And it gives them joy and pleasure to do it even against every arrow, every bullet, every sword, every enemy. It gives them pleasure to show up and fight for that to exist for humanity. There is no more attractive man in existence to a woman than the man who has found that purpose, that reason for living. And women gravitate to such men who are in such an authentic and inventive space, an original space of themselves, where they look like God in action, bringing down everything that makes sense, bringing in what we need, bringing in what makes the future make sense, bringing in the confidence of the future, bringing in the clarity of the future. Shango. And if I haven't mentioned already, Shango would represent Uranus. Of course, Uranus is to Mars what zinc is to iron, and that is galvanization, if you want to understand how galvanization works. It's a little complicated to put together, but I trust in the wisdom that God gave me. So now, the focus is not to change women. The focus is to return to our most original state. The focus is to find who we are as God. That's the focus. When we find that, we can have our women again, and we will have no problem with them, because we will realize there's no need for controlling them, dominating them. It will be the joy and the pleasure to serve what you are serving, to nurture what you are constructing, creating, and innovating, and to heal any injuries in the pathways of that destiny. She will heal it. She will lend her power of viscosity to any complicated situation, making it flow freely. She will lend the power of her oracle, connecting you to her own intuition to see what is ahead, lending you insight. The touch that makes the magical difference. When we are that person, there's no need for control or force. She surrenders because she knows who's present. She knows who's there. We should not have problems with women. We should not have trouble with women. And we won't have trouble with women or problems with women if we don't have trouble and problems with connecting to Source and to keeping that and maintaining that focus and that commitment with Source. What were you sent here to do? Okay, now don't get distracted. That's all you need to get compliance. That's all you need to get participation from her. That's all you need to get her to come on board and use all of her powers to help you. That's all you need. In fact, I'm convinced that she will outdo you in investing in your dreams, which is not your dream, but it's revelation that God gave you. She will sacrifice more than you. The truth is that we are not being who we're supposed to be. Feminism advanced them through chaos. The advancement was, it connected them to freedom and liberty. But there's a trade-off. In order for women to receive freedom and liberty, Saturn has to teach them accountability to go with the freedom and liberty. Without accountability, freedom and liberty is self-destruction. So, feminism is what ended up teaching them the laws of accountability with the freedom and liberty. Feminism taught them that based on the feedback of their behaviors, words, and actions, based on the consequences of their mishandling of freedom and liberty through the spirit of feminism. And this became the competence of accountability on the back end, on the conclusive revelation of women's experience with feminism. It ascends to a jewel of accountability. So we don't have to worry about what's going to come of women. They are being made by the hand of God and prepared. Accountability is being placed in them because they never needed it. Because they were never free. They were never fully liberated or fully autonomous. Now they are. So how much more can man and woman accomplish now that both are free and autonomous? Man and woman is now free. Man and woman is now liberated. Man and woman is now autonomous. How much more can they accomplish together? There's no need to control her or control her. You just need to choose and select who already sees the vision. Select who already believes in the mission. Choose and select who already admires who you've become as a result of that devotion. That's it. Liking who likes you. Choosing who chooses you. The moment we step outside that, we're using force. We're using manipulation. We're using control. We're using sabotage, deceit. No good will come of it. If we as men show up for our assignment, there are many helpmeets who are eager to help and support you in that. And they will be there on time. That's a guarantee. But you don't need a woman before that hour, because you only will drive her away. You only will push her away because you don't have shit going on for yourself. A woman cannot stay peacefully with a man who has nothing going on for himself. And that doesn't mean a rich man. It means a purposeful man. A purposeful man. Let me highlight a point that I was making so that it's not missed in this message, in this discourse. When we choose women before we choose and initiate our mission, we have a problem on our hands. And she's going to be the first to feel that that is a problem. Because everyone ends up finding out that coming together for love's sake is an illusion. It's a lie. Especially in the name of romance and chivalry. There's nothing real about it. And that lie gets exposed very fast. But when you as a man have a purpose and you're serving that purpose, and you choose her because she makes sense, she makes that purpose make more sense. She makes that purpose flow more freely. She causes that purpose to expand, multiply, and find viscosity, acceleration, enrichment. She naturally nurtures and nourishes that purpose. Now you are wise in your choosing. You're choosing for the right reasons. That's the right reason. When we fail to do it this way, man gets his ego in the way, and he engineers a sense of need in her. He engineers a sense of need in the kids. He engineers a sense of need in the household. And that is when it becomes very unhealthy. You become overbearing, controlling, dominating, even abusive. You condescend others. You pick people apart. You put one against the other. You create problems so that you can show up as the hero who fixes it. It's very unhealthy and it's toxic. So hustling backwards can't work where we're going. Your purpose. That's what you're supposed to be finding. And no man, let me choose my words wisely. Our purpose lacks efficiency without a woman. It lacks good health without a woman. You cannot nurture a cause or a purpose the way that a woman can. You cannot. You cannot nurture yourself to the capacity that a woman can co-nurture you in the uphill pathways that are inevitable, in the combat, resistance, and wars that are inevitable in doing God's work. You have to have a woman to compensate for the inevitable. You also have to have a woman to cover and protect you in ways that you can't cover and protect yourself. You are protectors of one another. In the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, man and woman is a garment for one another. A garment for one another. And we know that a garment protects from harsh weather, offensive environments. It also adorns and makes one another beautiful. It also covers and protects the chastity of each other. So for Allah to say you are the garment of each other, He's saying a lot, if we would consider. Man only goes where he's needed. He only stays where he's needed. He could have everything going on at home, everything that a man could possibly want. But when he doesn't feel like he's needed there, he could be down the street in the projects with some birdhead ass girl who really does need him. And that's where his contentment will be. A man can have everything that any man could ever want and desire, but he doesn't feel needed at home. So he stays at work extra hours. He travels the road because they need him on the job site. They need him for the project. Nobody else could rig something up like him. Nobody can build anything like him. Wherever he can be the hero in the story, that's where he goes. But God wants him to be the hero for humanity in some way. He's supposed to show up for that. Being the hero. And wherever he's not being the hero, he may have to change places or perspectives, change perceptions. It can simply be a matter of perception. You see yourself as the villain, as somebody not wanted or needed, but that could be your low self-esteem that's giving you the perception. But once you check that self-esteem that you have, now you're able to see, yes, I am needed. But just because I'm needed doesn't mean that everybody has to be desperately waiting on me, hand and foot, clapping their hands every time I come in the door. That's a self-esteem issue that I have to work out, that I cannot project or put the burden of on others, which is why we have to keep our testosterone in check. Our health. This is very complicated to bring out and put in words. I'm really trusting that maybe it was understood what I'm saying here. I will best know by the feedback.